Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hello, this is Walter from iWalter. Yeah, there was a little bit of a pause after the intro. It's funny how things work now on my Linux box. I'm trying to go back to the way I used to do the shows. So again, I'm using Linux I'm using the Linux box to do my podcast on, which for a while there I was trying to experiment with different types of tactics. By the way, it's the 23rd of December right now. Everybody should know this. By the time this goes up, it will be Christmas Eve probably, most likely. And what I wanted to do, I've been talking about this with my friend Matt over, text, and then he stopped at the house. I said I wanted to do one on Doctor Who. And part of the reason was I just want to do something lighthearted. I don't have to read off of anything in front of me on the monitor or some articles. I can always do that, trust me. I can always find something to talk about, but sometimes other people just don't want to hear it. So anyway, yeah, I don't know, and it's hard to believe we only got like a week and a half left of this year, and it's another year. It's kind of depressing, too. Before I start talking about Doctor Who, it was kind of funny. I've been sent home early every night. Everybody that is a temp at my job, I'm a temp at this particular company, and they don't have enough work for us. So, and sometimes I'm kind of relieved. I mean, I'm one of these bad people at this point who just doesn't want to work almost because I don't enjoy what I'm doing. So, the one night they send us home they sent us home practically every day this week, or this past week. So, the one night I was like, you know what, we're out of here early enough, and I'm gonna go see on Thursday night the movie Aquaman, which I did, and I honestly went in there with this, expectation that I was not gonna like the film. It just looked pretty bad, and I for some reason, I just wanted to do it just to say, hey, I went and seen Aquaman, because it's another comic book movie, and it's DC, which I usually do like theirs, though. So to my surprise, the movie was definitely very entertaining. It was a bit long, but it did keep my interest, because I believe it was over 2 hours, and I know. I should be able to find out now. I don't even know if I really want to. But overseas, it made over $300 million, I guess. Which apparently is no shock, because they seem to like our foreign films. So, for some reason, though, this movie, did obviously quite well. And it was like, people told me just because it does good overseas does not mean it's going to do as well over here, and I think they're right about that. So, actually, I'm going to do what I told you I wasn't going to do, and I'm going to look it up. It took me a while to get started, because I told my one friend, Matt, that I said, yeah, it's going to take me a while to get everything situated. And I ran into some complications tonight, so it's never a shock for me. Alrighty. It didn't make that much in the U.S., obviously. It said Aquaman splashes down with $67.4 million, which isn't a heck of a lot of money. So, but if you look at the overall picture, the fact that it made over $300 million overseas, and you accumulate that. Actually, it says domestically, it made 72.1 million and over 410 million overseas. So if you put that all together, it's about almost $500 million, which isn't too bad for a movie that just came out 2 days ago. Technically 3 days ago, but 2 days ago. So yeah, it's over $482 million. That's a lot of money. So not enough to build the wall, by the way. We're still kind of shy on that fact. Throwing a little bit of a joke, tongue-in-cheek joke there. So anyway, I wanted to talk because I hear all this grease still on Jodie Whittaker, and I still can't figure out why. So even last night, I was up, like, I don't know, I got in a bad habit. I'm up late every night. So last night, which will now be 2 nights ago after the time I'm done this damn podcast, I decided, like, you know what? Because I've been watching some Brit shows that I really never saw before, and I'm actually enjoying them. One I might have mentioned before, it's called Mother Makes 3 and Mother Makes 5. It was a show with this actress I really like, because I used to see her on the show called Butterflies. And her name is Wendy. You know what? I'm going to have to look that up. Wendy what? It's actually a really good show. My friend Matt, he didn't like it. It was kind of too boring for him, too dry. And when Matt was over the house, hey, I wanted to show him these Hammer 1-hour films that was a series on British TV back in the 70s. And they're really good. For some reason, they have really hot-looking women in those, too. Every one I've seen so far I wasn't disappointed in with the women. They're incredible looking. Speaking of that, like, I have on my wallpaper on my cell phone, my lock screen is a picture of Jodie Whittaker, just her face on my lock screen on my phone. So when I start up my phone, people look at it, especially guys, they say, wow, who's that? Your girlfriend? And it's like, no, it's the new Doctor Who, and they don't know what I'm talking about, obviously. Okay, Wendy Craig, she's on this show I really like, and it is, I have to finish it out. I haven't. Now I started something different, another British thing. Again, it's Hammer made-for-TV films, which were actually shot on film. Not video, but film. So it has a different quality to what you're looking at. But they're really, like, intense, a little bit stuffy because it's British. For some reason, like, I can follow Wendy Craig stuff, and I don't get bored of it. But these horror shorts, because they're an hour, so technically it moves an hour and a half, not quite a short. They are really good, but for some reason I find myself once in a while dozing off. Now, I just watched one that was on these Hammer things that was the theme was on these people in trying to raise Satan's gatekeeper, and it was an occult one, and that one actually kept my interest the whole time. Like, I did not doze off. In fact, it had this woman who was, like, really incredible looking, and she had these large eyes. So normally I don't notice that much about women's eyes, but her eyes just look like almost like one of those Japanime things, and it was a real person. She was hot. So anyway, going back to what I want to talk about, this will probably be the shortest podcast. I always say that, but I think this time it will be true. And I just kind of, like, I don't want to get in an argument with people about Doctor Who, but I feel like I almost need to. It's like something I don't really want to go down that route of starting, something. Nobody listens to me, so it's not going to be a big deal anyhow. But, I hear all this flack, and I think I understand it about, like, why people hate Jodie Whittaker. She, she hates men almost. She's a feminist. Is that the right word? Feminist. And I understand that stuff. And yeah, there was a couple things that were said on the new series of 11 that I would say I kind of frowned upon. But was it horrible? No. And then I was like, the other day I was watching some old John Pertwee episodes, and for some reason I used to hate those. I couldn't stand John Pertwee. But it was one they had this on BritBox, like, okay, all the dialect episodes that were like the best episodes of the dialects. And the first one I watched was with John Pertwee, and it was the one called Dave the Dialects. I remember when that used to be on PBS years ago, when it was like the reruns were on PBS with John Pertwee, and Day of the Dialects was one of the few episodes that they did not lose, because for a while there, they had lost like 3/4 of John Pertwee's episodes, except like Day of the Dialects and like Planet of the Spiders, and probably a couple other ones like they did not lose. Like there was only like a handful, and that was like from 1970 to 74 for Pertwee. But for some reason, they lost all his episodes, and then they found them because they realized that people really enjoyed Tom Baker, and they really liked Doctor Who. So people were wanting more and more, such as myself. Sorry about that. I just nicked my mic. And then it was like, wait a minute, we better get on the ball and like find this stuff. So they started digging up out of archives stuff that did not get destroyed, because 3/4 of the first 10 years was missing. It was gone forever of Doctor Who. And that was William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, and Peter Davison, and John Pertwee. Those episodes, a lot of them were burned or incinerated, whatever you want to say. Like they actually were. Some of the canisters actually did catch fire too, because the chemicals they used on film work and not being properly stored, and for numerous other reasons. Like nobody thought this show was going to become like a 50-year-old, 55-year-old show. Even back when it was only 12 or 15 years old. It was like, wow, something's happening here. It's like the oldest television program that people keep on wanting more and more of. And you do have to thank Tom Baker for that. So anyway, but I was watching those, and it was like, okay, there's some stuff that I kind of frowned upon with the old Doctor Who's. That's what I wanted to get at. You know, it's not, in the bottom line, it's nothing new. So, and I hate to say this. I mean, I really and truly do. I hate to say this, but it feels like that maybe there is some people out there, including women, who just don't like the fact that Doctor Who's a woman now. And I thought I would never agree with that or even have that idea cross my mind. But I'm beginning to, because honestly, you did have 50 years of Doctor Who being a male, which was the original idea anyway, was to have the character be an old man, with William Hartnell. And by the way, I don't know if people remember this. I can't remember her name. And if I looked it up, I can't pronounce it anyway, so I'm not going to even bother. But the original producer for the show, for Unearthly Child, and for the first season or so, was a female producer. The original producer of the show was a female. And yet people love those episodes. So it kind of like I scratched my head about that. Yeah, the main character wasn't a female, but, it just seems like the people who speak up the most and against Jodie Whittaker being a new Doctor Who, I hate to say it, are mostly these politically correct people who just can't stand the fact that it's a female playing the part. And you think, like, I would think that I would be against that. But honestly, I looked at it and the transition was quite smooth. I was really shocked about that. I thought it was quite smooth. And I thought she's been doing a really good job. And I try to think about it. I was like, okay, what am I it's still am like lost in, okay, what am I missing out on? Because I'm still not getting the point of why people can't stand the new episodes, besides them saying they're, they're too politically correct and they're against men and they make the male characters look weak. Well, I hate to tell you, the only difference is I'm just trying to point this out. I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm just trying to point out facts. Doctor Who was always the top-notch person. The companions, male or female, always had to be the lower, less intelligent person in the group. You had the villains that were either competitively as intelligent as Doctor Who, the character, or a little bit above him, which gave him a challenge, or a little bit below, but not by that much. And then you had the companions, who were basically, that's what they were. They were companions. There was a couple that held their ground over the years, and a lot of them were the women. Look at Sarah Jane Smith. I'm trying to think of some other good ones from the old series. Well, Jamie was a man, because it sounds like it could be a woman's name, but Jamie was with Patrick Troughton. But I'm trying to think of like some really good, strong female characters. Leela was like the perfect of both with Tom Baker. She held her ground, but she was like childlike. So what I'm trying to get at is, just because, the character is played by a actress, a female, doesn't change the character of what the premise of the character is supposed to be. The character is supposed to be smarter than the companions. I'm sorry. It's always been like that. But they always also, at the same time, held their ground. And it's the same thing now. It has not changed with the new companions. They're doing the same job that they've always done. Whoever the actor or actress was and is now. So, okay, so what's your point of saying that, you got two male characters and they're weak? Well, they kind of always were weak, and they had their strengths at the same time. Because you go back to John Pertwee, he actually only had two companions. And it was Jo Grant, who was the longest runner one. She was there for the 4 years. And you had, I can't remember who the companion before Jo Grant was. I got to look that up. You know what? Liz Shaw. It just popped in my head when I forced my mind to think about it. These are characters, but now Liz was actually very smart, but because she was a scientist for Doctor Who number 3, John Pertwee. But they tried to dumb her down. And they didn't do a very good job. So what they did, it's because the fact she was a scientist, and her character, the character of Liz Shaw with John Pertwee's Doctor Who were at equal levels of intelligence. Not that actually Doctor Who was smarter than Liz, but the thing was, because she was very intelligent, they had to sex up her character. Because I remember for years, I still do, what she looked like then, the actress who played Liz Shaw. They made her wear really short skirts and like sexed her up for 1970. And trust me, it worked for me. Now, if you looked at her back then in the costume she wore, they were very dated. You would not think the same way I did. But the point is, the character always held their own ground, the characters. But they were always a step below the Doctor. So that's no different. Just because you have a woman playing the character, the actual character was always one step, multiple steps above their companions. And the characteristics that Jodie has brought to the character is no different than any other actor who has played the part. Now, me personally, why I want to make a big deal out of this, I actually like her a lot. I like her character. I love the way she plays Doctor Who. I was watching it last night, and I was actually heart-wrenched on watching the pilot episode. And then I was like trying to think, okay, let me dissect some other stuff that people complain about. Well, you're being politically correct as you have a girl who is Pakistani. She's really cute, too. She's actually hot. She's one of the companions. So they said, well, you have multi-color here on the episodes of companions. You have a black guy. I'm not going to say African-Americans. This guy is British. And in the pilot was his mom, too. This black 19-year-old kid, a Pakistani. And this is what I'm hearing, multilingual, the women are stronger characters, the men are weaker characters. Well, the one woman who's a companion and the two guys are all on the same level. They're a couple steps below the Doctor's character. That's always been that way. So to me, that's like a thorn in my side. But they hold their ground, and it's a very closely knit base. It reminds me, like with Peter Davison, when he had 3 companions, because that's what Jodie Whittaker has. She's got 3 companions. Well, so did John Pertwee. I'm sorry. Excuse me for a minute. So did Peter Davison. He had Adric. He had Tegan and Nyssa. That was 3 people. There was a total of 4 people on the TARDIS. Well, it's no different. In fact, if you look at Jodie's costume, her costume. By the way, I don't know if people know this. I kind of stumbled upon it. Speaking about when I said about these TV shows with Wendy Craig. There was it was her. She lost her husband, the character on Wendy Craig. Mother Makes 3 and Mother Makes 5 because she gets married. And she, at the same time, the person she marries, Wendy Craig, because I'm jumping around, the man she falls in love with, the character Wendy Craig plays, has a daughter. So it's called, it was 3 seasons of this show. I think it was 3. Of Mother Makes 3, or was it 2 seasons? I can't remember. And then it went on to Mother Makes 5 because the character gets married. So anyway, her one son, the one actor who plays her son, Wendy Craig, on the show called Mother Makes 3, he's wearing the exact same shirt that Jodie Whittaker is wearing on the TV show now. So what did I hear about that? That just like, after I saw this, like, wow, people are just trying to like add fuel and fan that fire against Jodie Whittaker. Now, I'm not saying that in her personal life that she is some type of activist. I'm just going by the show. So I'm separating what I see on screen and that person, because I really honestly don't. I mean, I love Jodie Whittaker as Doctor Who. I think she's incredible. But when she does in her personal life, yeah, in some ways maybe it should affect you. Like but I'm going because I'm a longtime Doctor Who fan. So I'm just letting you know, I'm separating what I'm reading in these tabloids about Jodie Whittaker being such an awful actress and an awful person, and that she is like, she's going and basically probably burning her bra, and that she hates men. I'm separating all that stuff. And I'm even separating where they say the producer, the new producer, it's a different guy, had said strictly in interviews, or, when he was being questioned on who he was going to pick for Doctor Who, it will have to be a woman. I'm separating all that stuff. Forget it. I'm just going by how I interpret the show and why I enjoy the show and why I don't see the same thing other people do. That's all I'm trying to say. But anyway, yeah, I was watching this one episode of Mother Makes 3 with Wendy Craig. And her son, in the whole entire episode, I think the next episode, he has the same shirt on. It was the exact same shirt that Jodie Whittaker wears. So maybe they did. They must have pulled it out of old storage, that shirt. And they said, you know what, this will fit the show pretty nicely, like when they came up with their costume. So, and if you haven't seen it, Jodie Whittaker wears either a blue or I think it's like a purple shirt, very retro looking, and they made that very apparent after the pilot episode was aired, that the companions, because her clothes were torched from her previous body of being, as she puts it, I was a Scotsman. Just a couple hours ago, I was a Scotsman. You wouldn't believe I was the same person. They go through very grave detail how this character physically changes, does a 180 every single time. I'm not the same person. Look what happened when you had, and this is going back, when you go back to William Hartnell turning into Patrick Troughton. William Hartnell was a very old man, and he had bad teeth, and he had a miserable attitude, but I loved him. But then you went from that to a guy with a bowl cut practically, which was Troughton at the time, as a second Doctor, and who looked like as they put it, a galactic hobo. He was completely different. So you're talking like apples and oranges, but the character base was exactly the same. But there was major changes made from William Hartnell to Patrick Troughton. I mean, it was like really drastic. So it's no shock, and I've seen every episode available of Doctor Who, and when the changes were really drastic on the character, like extremely drastic, it seems that's when the show did its best. And it was okay back then, but now all of a sudden it's horrible that this is happening. So I hope I'm making some sense with this stuff. Probably not, because I normally don't, but I'm just saying. So you have a drastic change from a man to a woman. I understand that, but there was something I want to go into about that. It's been killing me for the longest time, so that's why I'm dedicating one show to just Jodie Whittaker, and not that she's going to hear it, not that anybody's going to care. I'm just getting it off my chest, and it'd be an interesting episode for Christmas. So she's wearing a shirt that some actor who was at the time 15 years old, because she's a very petite woman, wore the identical shirt that she wears now on Doctor Who. And what it has, what people do is they look for things to either support their argument in either direction, either for the show or against the show. That's what I've seen. So she wears a shirt that it looks like a Mork and Mindy kind of style shirt, like the one Mork wore back when that TV show was on, because it has, and that was like a very retro 70s shirt. Oh, by the way, before I forget, at the very end of the pilot episode, the companions take her to a Goodwill shop to go shopping. So what are you going to find? You're going to find old stuff in there, like surplus stuff. So her costume's made out of surplus clothes. She didn't take them out of the Doctor did not take him out of the TARDIS, wardrobe like normally what he does or she does now. It was completely like a different idea. And plus the TARDIS was completely destroyed, and it rebuilt itself. It's not going to rebuild the clothes. It's going to rebuild the interior of the TARDIS, and that's exactly what it did. That's why they had to take her to get new clothes. So anyway, it looks like, which people love to bring up that fact, it looks like the gay flag killers, the striped shirt. And I thought the same thing, but then I was watching, again, this show called Mother Makes 3, and with Wendy Craig, and it was like, wait a minute, that's the same identical shirt that Jodie Whittaker's wearing now in 2018 on the show. It's identical. There is no difference in the shirt. So it's an old 70s shirt. And I saw that. I was like, okay, I'm not going to even argue to this fact that this is not the reason. Like some people said, well, it's a multicolored shirt, like stripes, multicolored stripes. It is not the gay flag. It is not, like somebody said, a couple of people said in articles, well, this is like the same colors, like the multicolors that were in Tom Baker's scarf. No, it's not. It's a 70s freaking shirt. Let it go. Let it go, please. So that kind of aggravates me, too. Now, the next thing is in her costume, by the way, which I really like her costume. I think it's great. Jodie Whittaker's. she wears a coat, and I looked at it because I got a replica. Matt was busting me on it. No, I paid a little bit more than $10. I used money I actually got for Christmas. Now, I used part of that money. I paid like $200 off on bills, and then I took like $70. And I got, because for some reason you buy stuff overseas, and I even got a tailor made. It was like $70. I got this Doctor Who coat. So I was like, okay, I got $300 for Christmas. It's going towards the bills. I told my parents I'm taking the $300 they gave me in cash. Well, they put it in my checking account. I'm putting $200 on bills, and I'm taking $100 for myself. So that $100 I spent on myself, I spent $70 on a Doctor Who jacket. Now, this was taking place a couple weeks ago. Believe it or not, it came from China or Japan within like less than 2 weeks. So I was surprised. And it looks really cool. But I was looking at the coat. It was like, wow, this coat, the Doctor Who coat for Jodie Whittaker, looks exactly like Peter Davison's coat with a little bit of alterations. Like it has a hoodie on the back of the coat. They made an alteration for her coat. But I looked at it, and the premise of the coat is very similar to Peter Davison's. And I thought that was really cool. So Doctor Who, they try to keep some of the old school styles to Jodie Whittaker's character, her costume, and incorporate it into the 21st century, because we're in the 21st century now. I know it's hard to believe. We've been there for a long time, or at least 18 years, going on 19 now. So, I thought that was really awesome. So last night I sat down. I didn't watch the whole thing yet, and I watched enough just to impress myself. And the other thing I thought was really cool, I told myself last night, I want to watch up without the commercials on BBC America, because they put commercials in which weren't intended in Doctor Who, because it's on BBC, period, in England. So there is no commercials, because in England you pay for your television set, which shows taxes. You get taxed for your TV set. You get taxed no matter, even if you don't have a TV set. And that goes towards the BBC television programs. So either way, you're paying for the material for that show. You're paying for the actors, everything else. If you like it or not, you're gonna have to pay for it. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry about that. But yeah. Anyway, watching without the commercials was excellent, because I have it on streaming. The shows come up on my iTunes account as they're aired on BBC America without commercials. So it's perfect. And it's beautiful because I can get through it and I can focus on the show. That's what I was talking about. So the one thing I really was impressed about, which I never can say I was impressed on the original shows, is the Doctor. First, I've heard this many times, especially with Tom Baker, and she keeps on reiterating the fact, as the character, I love pockets. Tom Baker loved pockets. So pockets are very important to the Doctor. That's part of the character. So when she falls out of the TARDIS from, way up in the sky and lands on Earth, and by the way, there's an irony in the name. Is that the right terminology? But it was a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek humor thing. The pilot episode was called The Woman Who Falls to Earth. Well, the reason they picked that name is because it was supposed to be a little bit of, a little dig, or not a dig, like, hey, a little nudge towards The Man Who Fell to Earth, which was that movie with, oh God, I got to dig this up, because David Bowie. That, there's a movie called The Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie. It was like a science fiction movie. Probably wasn't that good. I'd never seen it. Well, they called the pilot episode, again, it was a nudge towards David Bowie on The Man Who Fell to Earth. But since she's a woman, you're going to call it The Woman Who Fell to Earth. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't particularly like the episode, but there was a lot of good stuff in there. And quite honestly, the best parts are with Jodie Whittaker and the companions. They were really good. So, more so with her. I like her just as much as I like the original Doctor Who's. In fact, I like her out of all the new actors who played a part. If you told me to pick from 2005 until 2018, the Doctor Who's been back on the air. Walter, who's your favorite Doctor Who? I would have to say, without even thinking about it, it would have to be Jodie Whittaker. Because there's episodes I did like with the other actors, but out of all the episodes that they did when they were on for one season for what do you call it, Christopher Eccleston, and 3 for the rest, I could find more episodes I could not stand with them than the ones I could actually enjoy. And I got really tired of him being like a Casanova kissing up and trying to be like a boyfriend to. It got really painful after a while watching it. You know, yeah, you got a younger Doctor Who, but he was more interested in trying to get in the pants of his companions, it felt like, most of the time. And you obviously, it kind of weaned off with Peter Capaldi, which was great. But his episodes, the only reason I liked those was because of the companion, his very last companion he had, which I really liked. Her name was Mel, I think. And she was great. She was really funny because I met her, the actress, down in Philadelphia, and I was like, I love you. You're great. She's a black actress, and she was really good. But as far as the Doctor one, Capaldi's a really good actor, hands down. He's made a lot of good, British shows. I've seen a few of them, and he's great. Hated him as Doctor Who. I thought he was god-awful. And he won in on set from day one as Doctor Who, and he went in with this attitude like, hey, I'm Doctor Who, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. Excuse my language. That's what it felt like. Like he went in with a sweater. He never wore his costume except twice. And he always wore like these sweaters, like, when you're too cold, you put a sweater on. Like he went in like half-ass in the costume. And now it's only been one season for Jodie, but she's worn the costume in every episode. The costume she was given. She does stay in the character. I can't say enough about that. And she came off the exact same way that the other actors prior to 2005 would have played the part when they were Doctor Who. She played it as an eccentric, like almost, I don't want to use that word, but like an eccentric old man. It was funny. She's like has Alzheimer's because the character now is like not a couple 100 years old, but the character is now a couple 1,000 years old, and she plays the character like that. She reaches into her pocket after, she regenerates, and, she comments like she doesn't realize that now the Doctor is not a man. She's now a woman. And, the one companion who becomes the companion says, excuse me, miss. And he says, what did you say? And she said, miss. And she asked, why did you call me miss? Well, because you're a woman. Really? Because you wouldn't believe this, but this is what she says. Like an hour ago, I was an old man. I was an old man with gray hair, and I was a Scotsman. And it was just so funny because, that's what I loved about Doctor Who back when I used to grow up with watching it. Because the way he changed his body, or now her, was the same way you change your clothes. And it's like, okay, this is just like a pile of flesh and other things and organs, like, but the mind is the most important part of the Doctor's character. So she played it off like, oh wow, I changed again. How does it look? I guess it does suit me. You had Tom Baker, who was talking about his complimenting how his teeth were, I think, and Pertwee would comment about something else. Well, hey, I look a little bit more of a strong jawline, and I'm trying to think, like, each actor, like, from the original series made a joke. I don't know about Sylvester McCoy, but the rest of them did. They made jokes about, wow, I got a good jawline, and hey, this kind of suits me. I think Peter Davison downed himself and said, yeah, well, you never know what you're going to get, like, as far as a new body. So Whittaker did the same exact thing, and she did it in such a great way that I was laughing. I loved it. But the first thing she did as the character was, we got to get the ball rolling. And then people are making comments about, hey, we have an alien on our planet Earth in Sheffield or something like that. And that never happens there in this part of England. And she says right off the bat, she says, well, I'm an alien. So, she doesn't say, well, I'm a woman. No, she says, I'm an alien. So how do you know aliens don't exist? Because you have an alien talking to you right now. It's just the way she translates with the actors was so good. And I can't say enough about that. You know what? I'm actually going to go into an hour, I think, tonight. I don't know how, but I'm doing it. So that was another thing. I'm like watching the first episode on my computer. Well, I have a 43-inch monitor, so it's not hard. And I'm like really paying attention to everything she's doing that people hate. And there's like nothing to hate. She plays it just like every other actor. And for a episode after the regeneration, I would have to say this is probably one of my favorite ones. Even though I didn't like the alien. The alien was just goofy, which they did bring back and they repraised the character. And by the way, a little bit of a speculation. Like they brought back the alien. The doctor jettisoned the alien from the pilot episode into the very last episode of season 1. Now, there's going to be a New Year's special. That's another story I have to mention that people are pissed off about. There's not going to be a Christmas special this year. Since 2005, or 2006, I should say, until now, every year since they brought Doctor Who back, they had what's called a Christmas special. I never really liked them. I thought they were okay, and sometimes they were really bad. So I don't care. But what they're going to do is going to make a New Year's Day special, So that I could take or take it or let it go. So there was another alien that I did like that was on the one that on the episode everybody hates, but I did like the alien. And it was a criminal who came back to try to kill off what was that? The bus one. The one with the bus, Doctor Who. Because I can't remember the name of it. Oh, God, I got the wrong one. No. Oh, God. Let me look. Season. Sorry about this, folks. Oh, Rosa. Well, that's a whole freaking. I could go off on about that one too. Rosa Parks. So there was an episode called Rosa about Rosa Parks, but the main storyline, it was about the doctor meeting up with Rosa Parks, and people were busting on that and saying, "Oh, I don't want an educational show." It really was not about Rosa Parks. It was about like making this alien who came back in time, who wanted to kill from the future, wanted to kill Rosa Parks off, and change the distortion of time, or distort time, the timeline. And the alien itself, the doctor ends up jettisoned way into another timeline, like way somewhere else. So my guess is wherever she jettisoned this alien in that particular episode is going to come up in the New Year's Day special. Now, why I'm saying that for the people who may listen and who may follow Doctor Who, they keep on thinking they're going to be bringing in the dialects. No, they're not bringing in the dialects. They're going to bring in this villain. Because the new director wanted to make sure that each and every episode of Doctor Who was something different. Now, I'd love to see Jodie Whittaker go up against the dialects personally, but I know it's not going to be that. I'm just saying for those, because this is strictly Doctor Who this time. So anyway, the thing I was going to say that I really liked about Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who, and it's the first time you've ever seen this, people who do like her did say this was like same thing. Her sonic screwdriver gets destroyed. So does the TARDIS. The TARDIS gets blown up to smithereens. I mean, physically, you really can't destroy the TARDIS, but her regeneration from Capaldi to her, like, caused a flare-up inside the TARDIS, so everything got destroyed, and the TARDIS rebuilt itself, but it didn't rebuild her sonic screwdriver, his sonic screwdriver. So the Doctor felt like, because for a while there, years ago, when it was the original series, John Nathan Turner got rid of that sonic screwdriver because he said it was too much of a crutch. And on the new show, the sonic screwdriver is on every freaking episode, and especially with Jodie Whittaker. So anyway, what was I going to say? The first thing was like, oh, wow. And it was, she, I'm trying to think of the right word. She presented, like she basically said, as a new Doctor Who, I like pockets. I look in my pockets. Where's my sonic screwdriver? Oh, I think it got it got destroyed. Either when she fell out of the TARDIS or when the TARDIS blew up, it fell out of her pocket and it got destroyed. And she's, well, I'm pretty smart, and used the same lines that the other actors, even in 2005 until now, and way before then, the Doctor is, always presented himself as being much smarter than anybody else. I'll just build another one, which in the old episodes, if you remember, there was that one, I think it was Horns and Nyman. I think it was that one. That when Tom Baker had Lola Ward, was it Lola Ward who was... Well, it was Romana 2. Let me put it that way, because I probably got the name wrong. But Romana 2 built her own sonic screwdriver. And the Doctor in the past did the same thing. Back in the days, he got the sonic screwdriver because he made it himself. But you never saw it. Romana, you did see her make her own sonic. Well, you didn't see it, but she did insinuate. She insinuated that she made her own sonic screwdriver. So the bottom line is, this time they kind of like go one step further. They don't physically show it, but they do show you like behind the curtain, because it was, one of those curtain type ideas. She does build her own sonic screwdriver, and she uses it constantly. And then she explains what the sonic screwdriver, what the purpose of the sonic screwdriver is. Which it always was like that. It's a multi-purpose device that the Doctor invented. She is a scientist. So that was great. I love that part. I'm talking about because I just watched the Woman Who Fell to Earth. A lot of the stuff she presents, I'm looking for these weak points that everybody pointed out in her episode, and I don't see them. I see the same quirky show that I've been watching for the last 40-some years myself. I didn't see any weak spots in her acting. I thought she was really clever. I thought she was funny. And that she presented herself the same way that all the other actors did. Especially like Tom Baker. Because Tom Baker was a lot more kind of flighty. So was Troughton. And if you notice, I don't mention much, but the worst Doctor Who, still, if I had to pick one I like the least, it's still, I hate to say it, and I try to like him. I really do. It's nothing personal, obviously, because I don't know the actor. Is Sylvester McCoy. I just thought he was awful. Like, I ordered all his, like in a box set. They finally released those in Germany, and I got those last year, all his episodes. Doctor Who. And you know what? I can't even stomach getting through half of them before I was like, you know what? This is too painful. I can't go any further. He's just really annoying. And he was awful. His companions were awful. He had 2 of them. The whole thing was just bad. And it was like, okay, if you really just want, and yet they boast how great Sylvester McCoy was. But they say how awful Jodie Whittaker is. It's like, are you for real? So, and it's funny because Jodie Whittaker is in the right span, the right age to be the Doctor. Because the youngest Doctor Who up until now, with Matt Smith, because he was only 26, I think, was Peter Davison, which he was 32. Tom Baker was like 42. And Jodie Whittaker's 36. So, the age spans generally minus, what is it? John Pertwee and William Hartnell. William Hartnell was in his 50s, believe it or not. He looked like he was in his 80s. But William Hartnell was like 55, something like that when he played Doctor Who. John Pertwee was probably somewhere late 40s, early 50s himself. I don't remember. But yeah, generally, and Peter Capaldi was actually another one of the older ones, because apparently Peter Capaldi was the exact same age playing the Doctor as William Hartnell, but William Hartnell looked like 30 years older than Peter Capaldi. But as far as the ones that I kind of really liked the best, which one, number one for me besides Tom Baker was Peter Davison. I really liked him. I didn't like his episodes that much. There was a couple that were pretty bad, and he was only on for 3 seasons. But for the most part, yeah, I really liked Peter Davison, and I like Jodie Whittaker for the same reasons. And I actually like her more because she's very witty, her character. So anyway, it's almost like an hour I've been talking about this. I'm surprised I was able to do this. But I'm just trying to point out things like, I'm not going with the political correctness thing. I'm just so tired of that. And the way they bash Jodie Whittaker is just extremely annoying, actually, at this point. So, anyway, yeah, the Rosa Parks one was interesting. I didn't take it because there was more to it than this Rosa Parks riding the bus and how this alien was trying to make sure she would not get on the bus. Yeah, that was the premise of the show. I understand that. But I wasn't focused on that as much as the alien who was almost like the Terminator. Not that it was like a robot, but it was the same premise where the Terminator was sent back in time to change history. Well, that was the premise of Rosa Parks. And I did learn something from that because I didn't realize Rosa Parks' husband was the guy. He was a white male. I wonder if you can use when you say African American, would he be a white American, Caucasian American then? Anyway, oh wow, my screensaver came up. Let me on my screen. I got to make sure to fix this real quick. So anyway, yeah, her husband was the same guy, believe it or not, who started NASCAR. So how cool is that? I never knew that. Yes, he is. Rosa Parks' husband, a white male, was the same guy which is a big thing still, by the way, for people, obviously, who had started the whole thing with NASCAR. So how cool is that? I never knew that, because what stuck out was there was this room where Rosa Parks in this room with her husband, and she introduced her husband. It was that guy's white though, because she's black. And it was wow, I'm curious about this guy. So I looked him up. It was yeah, he's the guy who invented NASCAR, or developed, or whatever you call it. And not invented. You don't invent a tournament, or whatever you want to call it, a thing where you race cars. So to me, that was fun. The little piece of history they left out, but it was really cool. And the whole premise was not that, hey, yeah, they touched upon it. I went back and I saw Rosa Parks. Yeah, that was great. But I enjoyed it because it was a Doctor Who episode that was a little bit different. It was kind of cool. But was it anything they were drilling in my head about history? Not really. Not that I could see. So I always make this comment of well, okay, what am I missing out on? So let me see. And people were complaining about the very last episode, how horrible that was, and the season finale. It was what is your problem? There's nothing wrong with it. I really found it entertaining. And I've said this before to people. Doctor Who has always kind of touched upon history in some way, and yeah, it's been twisted towards being more, with dialects and things changing American history or changing that. I mean, if you really want to nitpick, why don't you pick on the William Hartnell episode where he lands on, with the dialects, he lands on the Mary Celeste. You should pick on that too, because I'm not kidding. There's an episode of Doctor Who. It was called The Chase, by the way, in case you want to know, with William Hartnell. See, now, nonsense information like that, as Matt would say, I know every little nook and cranny on that information. But yeah, they were very entertaining episodes, the William Hartnell ones. I love those. But they get chased through time and space on Earth by the Daleks, because the Daleks discover how to travel through time and space. They steal it from the Time Lords. So anyway, they end up on the Mary Celeste. It was pretty funny. There was episodes because, we don't like push down our throat about, about history. Actually, let me look this up now. I'm going to get a new screen. On the history episodes that really should be played out on Doctor Who, because it's a science fiction show. And I hate to tell you, but that was the first season of Doctor Who. That was the first season of William Hartnell. They were all history pieces. I'm putting that in now. Because I have the book somewhere. Wow. No, I don't want the first. These are the. I'm trying to look for season 1 because, there was like the Romans and some other things. I just got to prove. I really need to prove a point. And I still want to lose my screen at the same time. This might actually be over an hour. Okay, season 1. Okay, here we go. Dialects, Edge of Destruction. I'm trying. Okay, here we go. We don't want Doctor Who to be about education. We don't want that thrown down our throat. 1963, John Pertwee, episode 4, Marco Polo. No, that's definitely not about history at all. It's not forcing it down your throats. Episode 6, The Aztecs. I'm not going to say anything else. Episode 8 for season 1 of Doctor Who, The Reign of Terror. The Reign of Terror. That was, I'm not going to say anything because I don't know anything about this stuff. Heaven forbid. We don't want to force down people's throats about history. Trying to look for season 2 because I think they continued on. I knew definitely it was season 1 that they did a lot of history pieces because Doctor Who originally was meant to be an educational show for kids. It definitely expounded upon that, and it was more than just that. So sorry about that episode guide. I keep on pulling up like the new ones. But you know what? No. Now I got Sylvester McCoy again. I can't stand his episodes. There was like 2 or so I really liked of Sylvester McCoy, and that was really pushing it. Because trust me, even those got really disgustingly painful to watch. I don't know anyone else to put it. Season 1 episode. I want to just see if I can put Hartnell. Hartnell's did go in a different direction. Oh, by the way, I saw the guy who played a different actor because Hartnell's been dead for years. He had passed away a long time ago. They had 2 different, actually probably 3 different actors play Doctor Number 1. In the first one, I appreciate it. The second one I thought was okay. And maybe it was just 2. I don't know. But the bottom line is, I just it got to the point, by the way. It was just like the last actor who played Doctor Who looked nothing like Hartnell, acted nothing like Hartnell. And then they try to change the way Hartnell acted. It was like, you know what? Forget it. I don't even want to. I didn't want to acknowledge the guy. I just kind of ignored him. So anyway, season 2 of William Hartnell. He was on from 1964 to 1965. So it was 1964. It's according to this. No, he was on for 3 years. So they're actually technically saying there was a 4th year, but that's when he got really sick. So realistically, he was only on for 3. So I apologize. He was on from 1963 to the very beginning of 1966 before he got extremely sick, William Hartnell. So anyway, for a television show that does not try to push down people's throats since day one that Doctor Who is not an educational show and that it was strictly it's strictly science fiction, let me remind people that in season 2, there was an episode called The Romans. Then there was an episode called The Crusade. And the episode with the Mary Celeste was called The Chase, and that was in season 2. There was an episode called The Time Meddler, which I love with William Hartnell. And that was with another Time Lord called the Medicine Monk. And that was another history piece as well, where the Medellin Monk, I said the Medicine Monk, the Medellin Monk actually interfered with, what do you call it, when England was still basically overtaken by barbarians. I forget which war that was. Not even a war. But it was before England was actually established. But the bottom line is, I'm not doing a very good job with the history part of it. It is after an hour. That was season 2, 1964 to 65. The Time Meddler was one where a Time Lord interferes with Earth's history. And it was with the Vikings. That's what I'm looking for, the Vikings. So it was about the Vikings. But, just remember, Doctor Who never goes into Earth's history at all, according to these people now that are bitching about Jodie Whittaker. And season 3, let's see. Oh, there was one that was called The Gunfighters, which was about American history back with Doc Holliday. And guess who Doc Holliday was? They had mistaken the Doctor as Doc Holliday. So it was the worst episode of Doctor Who ever made, they said. I thought it was interesting, but they said the show almost got canned because it was so bad. The bottom line is, it was about Doc Holliday. It was an American based episode of Doctor Who. Just letting you know. Not saying it was good, I'm just saying. But remember, Doctor Who never really talks about Earth's history because it's never been like that. It's always about aliens and stuff. Well, yeah. Well, I hate to tell you, the one called The Gunmaker, what was it? Did I say the one with Doc Holliday? I hate to tell you. That had nothing to do with any aliens. You know what it was about? The doctor had a toothache and he needed to get a tooth pulled. That was the episode. But you really need to know, by the way, that Doctor Who never goes into history. I'm sorry. I got to reiterate how people are such idiots when it comes to this stuff. That, yes, Doctor Who was always about history in the beginning. So this nonsense that it wasn't is exactly what it is. It's a bunch of nonsense. And it's just, you know what it is? And that's one point I brought up before, and I'm gonna bring this one home. Actually, I'm gonna look for I think it was called The Guns. And now I'm like curious. I thought it was called The Gunslingers. The Gunfighters. Okay, it was Doctor Who and The Gunfighters. Yeah, that episode did really bad, but it was interesting because Doctor Who had a toothache. But yeah, it had nothing to do with aliens again. It was just a bad episode. To many people, not to me. I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. And they released it a while back on DVD. I'll have to see if I can buy that. Uh-oh, Walter, there you go again. Buying stuff you shouldn't buy. Excuse me. So, okay. So far, I'm looking through why Jodie Whittaker is such an awful Doctor Who, and I can't find a damn thing. And the only thing I keep on coming back to, folks, is that she's a woman. That's the only thing. And she does a really damn good job playing the character. And I find it very entertaining. The only episode I can say, honestly, that I couldn't stand at all was one episode where a man gets pregnant. Just the episode alone was god-awful with Jodie Whittaker. But that was one episode that I really just could not watch, and I couldn't stomach watching it again because it was really bad. And then the alien was this little CG computer, CG is computer generated. Looked like okay, we can market this as a toy premise. So that was the alien, and it was awful. The pregnant man was bad too. The whole thing was just goofy, and it was like, wow, this is a major disappointment. But that was 1 out of 10 episodes. I don't know what the 11th one's going to hold, so I can't say right now. That won't come on the TV until January 1st, so I won't be able to say 2019, which is like a week and a half away. So far, again, and one thing I just want to remind people, okay, you hate the new Doctor Who, you hate the political correctness. You hate Jodie Whittaker, but you love Jodie Whittaker when she was on Broadchurch or whatever it was called, Broadshire, whatever. I don't care. Bottom line. But I do want to mention this, though. Doctor Who, when they decided, because William Hartnell was getting sick and he was having problems. He wasn't that old. He looked old. And they picked a new actor. One, they picked somebody completely different. Somebody who was going to play the character like nobody else seen before. Like, it wasn't even like, okay, we're going to do a smooth transition. We're going to get another older person to play Doctor Who looks kind of similar to William Hartnell. No, they picked a guy who looked completely different, who treated the character completely different. He dressed like a hobo. They called him the Galactic Hobo because he was like nervous, ninny, and jumped around and was like somebody from a cartoon, like jumping around like out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something. I mean, it was completely different. But you know what? The ratings skyrocketed. I read the ratings. They said, like in the last 2 days, and it says Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker hit an all-time new high since the show was brought back in 2005. And I'm not surprised. Like, people didn't catch it when it first came on, which was only a few weeks ago, and now, like, they probably were watching other shows. Now people are starting to catch on to this, and she's making a name for herself. And you are getting new people. Yeah, you're losing some old people, some old fans. But the show's been on for 55 years, folks. What do you expect? I mean, eventually, people like me aren't going to be able to watch it because I won't be alive to see it anymore. So, yeah, you're going to be losing people because the people who grew up on Doctor Who are probably not deceased. Or they just grew out of it. I mean, how many people besides me watched the same television program for 50 years, 55 years? Not many people. Nobody I know of. And England's kind of known for that because they have that EastEnders show that's been on for like forever. It is a soap opera though. So anyway, the reason Doctor Who just lasted as long as it has and kept the same character is because of the major changes they made in the character. But the point I want to drill home, because it's over an hour now. It's an hour, 10 minutes almost. when they changed the character, it wasn't until, I believe, the end of Troughton, the beginning of Jon Pertwee, where they brought the character from being an alien who can regenerate, which happened between Hartnell and Troughton because the show was doing pretty damn good. And they wanted to continue it, but they wanted to continue in a different direction as the way the character was portrayed. So they made a major change, and they took a lot of risks. They had taken a lot of risks. And they did the same thing again with Jodie Whittaker. And they did, actually, it was a risk taker. They put it on Sunday nights, which is like a dead zone because there's not much to compete against with her being Doctor Who. And they weren't too sure. But it was like, to me, Jodie Whittaker is taking the same risk they did when they brought Troughton aboard many eons ago. It's not any different. Just remember that. It wasn't until Jon Pertwee that they added more to the character. Like the very pilot episode, Spearheads from Space, you find out that the Doctor, something else about the character. He has two hearts. Because people are complaining about, well, wait a minute. They keep on changing the storyline with Doctor Who. They've done that millions of times over the years. They've added, like Jon Pertwee used to talk about stories when he was on Gallifrey, and he would sit under a weird tree on Gallifrey. Now, like back then, if you actually go back and you sit and you watch Jon Pertwee episodes, he said some, like his character, his portrayal of Doctor Who, he said some stuff that made like no fucking sense at all. It was like way off the wall. And that happened many of times with different actors who played the part. Maybe it was the actor's idea. Maybe it was the writer's idea. But the main point was they added stuff to the character that never existed when William Hartnell played the part. And you know what? People did not make a big freaking deal out of it. Now, all of a sudden, it's a big deal. Well, do you see what Jodie Whittaker said in this episode? She said she's got, like, I'm going to use a guess. Like, she has several grandparents or something like that. And somebody got real pissed off because there was that one episode. She talks about her, I believe it's her grandparents, and she says, I have several different grandparents. And each of them had a different story to tell me about something. It was like, so it was something on that line. I'm doing such a god-awful job of explaining this. But, yeah, people were blowing up over this. They were pissed. It's like, have you ever watched Jon Pertwee episodes when he talks about, like, what do you call it, with the blue crystals, and I forget where it was. It was in a couple episodes he mentions about, Metabilius 3. And it was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Or, sitting under a fig tree on a planet somewhere on Gallifrey, and when he was a little boy. I mean, he would tell the most bizarre, off-the-wall stories, the character that was portrayed by Jon Pertwee. And I'm like thinking, this doesn't fit the storyline that had been portrayed by your predecessors. Like you're pulling rabbits out of somebody's asshole almost. I mean, it's like it makes no fucking sense. I apologize for all the profanity. But my point is, nobody had a problem with that. Now all of a sudden, hey, it's a big deal that Jodie Whittaker is talking about having several grandparents. This is not right. This is not the storyline. Well, go back to Jon Pertwee. You will see that it was just as crazy back then than it is now, or with any of the other actors who played the part. So I don't want to hear that. I'm just telling you now. So, and you know what? If you want to put, like, just keep on digging a shallow grave for Jodie Whittaker for being a man-hating feminist who just wants to destroy the character of Doctor Who, go right ahead. But just remember one thing, by the way. This is what I want to drill home, and maybe I'll just like end it there because I could go on forever about this. I didn't think I could, but it's like one of those things when you build up momentum, like, and you like roll something down a steep hill, and it gets more steam as it progressively goes down the hill. That's me. Well, Walter, you're gonna hit the bottom of the hill. Yeah, but you're talking me, so I doubt I will. I could probably talk for 6 hours about this the subject, and I won't. Because nobody's going to even listen to me for 5 minutes. So anyway, take everything, throw everything at me you want to on how bad Jodie Whittaker is and how she's brainwashing people, how the new director is so god-awful, how Jodie Whittaker is just the worst Doctor Who. Go right ahead. But just remember one thing. When they actually settled on how long the show would progress, before they would say, okay, this is it. They came to the point years ago that Doctor Who would die after his 12th regeneration. Hint, hint. She's Doctor Who 13. So you get my point. So you could just say, okay, after, which he was not that great. I did not like Peter Capaldi. I didn't like the way they wrote the shows. The only thing I liked was the character. I think I got her name wrong. You know what? I did say her name wrong. The actress I saw, I forget her name, but the character was named Bill Potts. She was a lesbian black chick who was really cute and very funny on the last season of Doctor Who. I loved her, but I hated Peter Capaldi. Couldn't stand his Doctor Who. I literally wanted to vomit every time he would come on. And it's not nothing against him. I liked the actor because I saw him in some other show or shows, and he was funny. He was awful as Doctor Who. And he never wore a costume properly. So, bottom line is, Peter Capaldi was supposed to be, according to, until they did change some stuff on the new show, and they gave the Doctor more regenerations, like a whole set of 12 more. Doctor Who would have ended, according to the original timeline, it should have ended with Peter Capaldi. He should have been the last actor to live, the last version of Doctor Who before he would have just basically passed away. So bottom line is, the end chapter to the series of Doctor Who should have ended with Peter Capaldi, but beforehand they made sure to make sure the Doctor got more regenerations. So, you can say, oh, I hate Jodie Whittaker, she's ruined the show. Well, the show was supposed to end with the 12th Doctor. She's the 13th. Hello. So that's another thing that just really pisses me off. And she was very refreshing. She was definitely a step in the right direction with Doctor Who. So I don't care. I'm just saying. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't understand people. I'm sorry. I really don't understand why people have such a hate Jones for Jodie Whittaker. And again, yeah, if I saw her and she spoke out, like I was at one of these conventions and she said, well, it's about time we got a woman for the part, I probably would frown upon that. But I would question her too. I'll say, you know what? I don't care that you're a woman. And the fact that if she is so strong-hearted that for women's lib, she certainly never showed it in any of the episodes that I've seen with her for season 1. She made sure she's not that stupid to say, well, now I'm a woman, I got women's powers. No, she's... And in the very first episode, the Doctor, after she regenerates, she says, I got to get used to, like a pair of shoes, basically. I got to kind of fit myself in and learn my new way on how I'm going to, my new personality. Because I'm going to have a different personality than I did before. Because when I get a new body, I got to kind of, find myself in this new body. And she did a very good damn job. She didn't do anything that was out of line, in my opinion, and I really liked the show. So it had to take me an hour and 20 minutes to say this, but that's my niche. And I could go a lot further with this. Yeah, I know their viewers are really upset with Jodie Whittaker, but you know what? It's going to be one of these things that it might be when she's long gone and they get other actors to play the part. One thing that I'll tell you, I guarantee it's going to happen. You're going to get somebody a lot worse than Jodie Whittaker, like we've had in the past. We've had some actors who were just really bad, a.k.a. Sylvester McCoy. He sucked as Doctor Who. And God love the man, but his episodes were just total dog shit, except one or two. And I told there was a friend that used to live next door to me when I lived in my apartment, and his name was Joe Thomas. And I said to him, Joe, he laughed at me. He's like, I actually like these. This friend of mine, Joe Thomas, he was a neighbor of mine. And I said, you know what? I told my friend Joe, I said, I think you're sabotaging this show to finally end Doctor Who because it's costing the BBC too much money. And you know what? The show did get canned after the third season because it was bad. It was awful. And they were saying, oh, they cut the budget for the show and everything. It's like nonsense. The shows were horrible. Sylvester McCoy sucked. So bottom line is you're going to get a couple more actors like that, and then they're going to go back and say, you know what? Years from now, and I feel bad for her for this, but years from now, people are going to go back and say, you know what? Jodie Whittaker was an excellent Doctor Who. Right now, they're saying she's like worse than dog crap. Years from now, they're going to say she was the best thing since sliced bread. But you know what? I'm holding my guns. I'm going to say she is a good Doctor Who. Unfortunately, she may only do one more season, which I'm very upset about. I hope she reconsiders that and maybe does it for at least 3 years. I'd be really happy about that. But who knows? We don't know because who knows what's going to happen because she's not coming back till 2020. Anyway, folks, I'm kind of really long-winded on this fact. It's just something I take to heart, and I will talk to you later. Have a Merry Christmas, and I'll try to be back before New Year's. This is Walter from iWalter signing off for now.